Brother, you and I are on. Ding ding. Welcome to Vinyl Junkies versus Vinyl Me Please. I am here with my illustrious strongman host, Mr. Matt Hessler. How are you, Matt?
Feeling strong.
I hope that we sound good because we definitely look good. It's just a question of whether we got the sound done properly. Somebody will message us eventually.
Of course. They'll be like, this is echoey as hell. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. I mean, look, they don't know it, but this kind of does technically count as a fuck up because what we wanted to do is we talk all things vinyl, me please, today, and we take $100 worth of records out of the VMP store that freshens up every month. And today was the day that happened. It usually happens at noon Eastern Standard. So our idea, just to tell you, right, it's me who fucked it up. Our idea was, all right, we're going to do this at 11:15. We're going to follow the NFL format and pregame, and we're going to nerd out on records 45 minutes before you can actually go live and buy them. And it was a complete disaster. It didn't happen.
It was, in fact, a complete disaster. Couldn't hear each other, couldn't see each other, yeah, it was a mess.
Well, look, that's technology, man. I don't have a producer, and the thing is that actually, you know, I don't know if you caught your last episode, but you sounded like you were underwater on that too, and it's super frustrating. I don't want that to be.
Yeah, we don't want that. We want good, nice sound.
So yeah, listen, what you were talking about, if we can start there, we're gonna go into the fresh and tasty stuff that's in the VMP shop today. I'm definitely pretty chuffed about some of the things, but you did it again last week, Hessler. You've done something over the last while. I've made mention of it, you know, the last couple of shows, but this thing that I'm enjoying most is how you send kind of like a mystery disc to me. You don't tell me you're going to talk about, or you send it, or either that, or you talk about it on the show and I didn't know it. And if you think I like it, you're going to send it without me knowing. Yep. And the first one you hit with was Daniele Lupi, which was huge. Then you hit me with Dreamwife, which, you know, is just something waiting to happen. That's a Riot girl trio just waiting to kind of catch the right festival and sell a whole fuck ton of records. And
yeah,
you know, those are good, but that's still you kind of like introducing me a little bit more to your indie language. You know what I'm saying? It's more, this was a completely different thing. So what he does is last week, me and Hessler start talking about Orchestra Octagon. Okay. The thing is that I paid no attention to the guy at all because he can't pronounce it worth shit. Pronounce it for me.
Look at this skin tone. Do I look Cuban in any way?
I'm not Cuban either, but it's like
I get a sunburn inside, man. I am the least Cuban person out there.
So, but you sent this record, Orchestra Octagon. It's self-titled. And it's not in the store, unfortunately, guys, but it has to be spoken about because we are here about music above everything else. If you need to be happy, if you need pool tunes, if you need the best Cuban, authentic Cuban salsa and mambo-based music, like that brings back thoughts of Celia Cruz and Cachao and Tito Puente, and like really you feel like you're back in the 50s, pick up Orchestra Octagon. You have to. It's it's probably not fair for me to say that it's my favorite Cuban record because stuff like Cachao is a big deal for me. But
sure.
It's the best modern. Like, I mean, if I think in terms of taste, right, if I had to compare it to something, you know, we were talking a little earlier, there's like, you know, Buena Vista Social Club, for example, or Compay,
sure.
you know, Compay Segundo, or, you know, all the various players. And that's kind of like more that chilled out Cuban stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
You haven't had a chance to hear your copy of Orchestra Octagon yet, right?
I haven't. So I like walked by our little listening room when somebody was listening to a test pressing of that, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is like super fun, but I'm incredibly shallow depth in Cuban music.
Doesn't matter.
And so, you know, some people in the office were kind of cueing me into it, but I probably had heard 45 seconds. I immediately thought of you. I was like, oh, you're gonna lose your mind. You're gonna love this.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have many of them. I think we limited that to like 300. We weren't sure how well it'll do. It went in a heartbeat. I managed to get you a copy. My copy, I was out of town over the weekend. My copy just showed up on Friday, and so I'm yet to have like my own needle drop on that record, but I am super excited.
If I won't be surprised if it's the record you're going to be bumping to most of this summer. It's like every year there's just one world beat album, whether it be reggae or whether, you know, whatever genre, but just kind of like something that gives you that summer vibe. There's always a couple of those records, and listen, it can't, if you like Cuban music and if you just like salsa and dancing and just feeling good, you can't miss, man. You can't miss. It's Daptone. They hit it right out of the park with this, man.
Nice. Well, thank you. That's high praise, and it's a record I'm personally super excited about.
Oh, you'll have fun, man. You'll have fun. Make yourself a nice rum and something or other, and it'll fit.
My lady is Brazilian, so
nice.
Sometimes we get a little cachaça or something like the good Brazilian rum. So we'll get on a fancy cocktail with some fruit in it and put on some Cuban music.
Beauty. And if you play it, like, let's say if you have friends over and that kind of thing, I promise, if it's a nice day, you're going to put them in a good mood, and more alcohol will likely be consumed.
That sounds like the summer is right around the corner.
So listen, brother, it was an interesting store this month. I'm looking really forward to putting it up. Actually, those of you who are watching can go check it out. Go check out our page directly, vinyljunkies.co. The reason I'm saying it is because you'll notice this is the way we're going to try to do it from now on. I'm showing it on the phone. No, you can't see it properly on the phone. But what it is that I've done is we've put all of our picks, Hessler's picks and mine, along with a little thumbnail, a listen link so that you can actually listen to the song first, and a buy link if you like it enough to buy it. Why are we doing this? Because, and it's the first time. I mean, it's the first time Hessler sees it too. Why are we doing this? Because we've been trying to kind of get the message across that the Vinyl Me Please store is open to the general public. It's open to everybody, not just members. There are just certain records that members kind of get the jump on. So I thought, Hessler, that maybe the best way to do that is really just put up a proper mock store and give people a chance to hear the record, give people a chance to check it out for themselves, and, you know, I
think that's awesome. Yeah. And then there's a link in the Facebook video too that'll take you to like the overall store if you just want to go shop around. And yeah, all that inventory is new starting today. So we just once a month we try to refresh like 80% of the inventory. Some stuff hangs out for a month or two, but this is the whole idea is like there's a ton of great music out there. If you know what you want, you can go to Amazon, you can go to lots of places to buy it, but we're trying to like cut through some of that and see what's the good stuff you should be focused on.
What it is that we're going to do, we're already on 8 minutes and haven't talked about a single record. That's how bad we are at promoting this. Honestly, guys, it's about just doing this properly, and you have no idea how much it matters to me to be able to put a properly curated experience that, to respect the fact that you guys, the audience, buy music. You love music enough to buy music, okay? And also to bring a message across for anybody that we talk to. If we talk about our sponsors, understand something. They have records. They send us their records. They're not asking us to do it on an MP3. Matt has never once asked me to start talking about a record before I got it. And if I don't talk about it, you know what I mean? It's just we want the experience to be authentic because you guys are spending money on it. And we want you to feel like you didn't get gypped, that somebody wasn't just trying to pass a fast one on you. Good thing is that VMP does have a very, very nice selection. Can I just start mine off real quick because it does need a few minutes and then you can go?
Yeah, kick us off.
It's very simple. I will start with the Vinyl Junkies lifetime membership pick forever and ever, ever and ever and ever. Amen. Please, they have copies. They do. Go buy Miss Beyonce Lemonade. Just buy Beyonce Lemonade. This is... this record has put Beyonce on a Cher level fucking fanaticism for me. I can't tell you how often I play this record. Yes, I played it today. I don't stop. I wish I could say something more macho than this, but I watched, I never saw Beyonce. I never paid attention to Beyonce before Lemonade. I honestly didn't. Now I want everything. But I watched a little bit of the concert that she did there. What the hell is that festival called? Coachella?
Oh, Coachella. Yeah, with the marching band and like, looked nuts.
I started crying.
Oh my gosh.
And that's not going to happen with a lot of artists. Had I had the chance to see Frank Sinatra, I would have begun crying. There's no doubt about it. I will probably never have the chance to see Cher. I'm pretty sure that if I saw Cher, it would be the concert highlight of my entire existence. And Beyonce kind of brought that. And the reason is it's just she does everything. Okay? And what it is that I appreciate most, what I connect most to, Matt, is that I'm working this motherfucker as hard as I can. You can say what you want about me. I am working for this. Nobody can take it from me. I go hard. I go hard. I go hard. I go hard. Guess what's mine?
Okay,
Get what's mine. I won't stop. I won't stop. I hear you, man.
We gotta get you an official T-shirt. Sounds like you're part of the Beehive.
I don't want to be part.
I got my Beyonce fan merch. I am not afraid to rep that,
dude. I'm not trying to be part of anything. I don't care. It's good. The message. She writes a song called 6 Inch. Do you know the record?
I know the record well. Yes.
6 Inch is basically an anthem about. It's about a stripper hustling, and rather than make it tawdry about how she's a stripper and kind of like look at all of the exploitative things about it. No, what she does in typical Beyonce fashion is like, hey, you know what? I'm dancing my ass off there, and I'm the one who's choosing it. And I'm doing it, you know why? Because I'm fucking counting money everywhere he goes. Commas and the decimals. She got the pesos out of Mexico. She don't want to give it up because she professional. I can fucking go on forever because Beyonce is awesome. And I love her.
Yes. That Lemonade, I wanted to get the true fan edition. Came with 3-inch thick photo book, but I think it was like $300. It was really nice. I mean, it's the same 2LP, but it just had this huge coffee table book with it. But yeah, I mean, she's a legend. It's unbelievable. That record, I think, will hold up. We'll play that as like a beacon of like what pop music was in this period of time.
Look, one thing that I've never done is tried to be, kind of like, oh, I'm this type of music or that type. I listen to whatever I listen to, and I just, if it feels good, it feels good. And when you're building the soundtrack to your life, you don't know what's going to hit you over the head 5 years from now. Just like you didn't know when you first came across, Quicksand Slip, that it was going to do what it did to you. And I mentioned Quicksand Slip because I know that's a big one that both of us have in common. It just does.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm never going to forget this record, ever. Ever. It's fucking awesome. Awesome. And if I can get even just one metalhead, one non-pop music fan to just listen to it, suspend everything that tells you that radio music is shit and they're all garbage and all they do is that. There's no talent. They have other people write their... All of those things that these people say about music. Suspend all of that, okay? Close your eyes, listen to the record. If you can't hear the production, if you can't hear the songwriting, if you can't hear the craft that goes behind that, my friend, I don't care what kind of music you're listening to, you're fucking tone deaf. You are.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's the truth.
I love Beyonce, and if I had a shirt, I'd rock it. There's no doubt.
Oh man, I know what I'm getting you for your birthday.
Nasty. Okay, brother. I found your picks interesting because I don't know some of them, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Why don't you tell me your first pick, man?
Where do I start? Something modern, something old.
You got the
all right,
floor.
I'm gonna start with Unknown Mortal Orchestra.
Beauty.
So UMO, as a lot of people will call them because they've got a long, unruly name. I kind of got into them in 2015, that record Multi-Love.
Okay.
I thought that was like a really good kind of psych pop kind of record. I don't know how I'd categorize them. I'm not like a super nuanced like genre guy.
Fair enough.
But I thought that record was fascinating, both on like the music side and the personal side. It was about the lead singer. His name's Ruben something. Like he and his wife like introduced a third person into their marriage, and it kind of this. I thought about starting here because of what you had said about Beyonce and a song about a stripper. Like you could go in a lot of tawdry directions with that, and like think about it all in the like paradigm of like the sexuality of like having a third person in your marriage or whatever. Sure. But it's really like just a backdrop for talking about like that kind of love and being able to love multiple people, and it's more romantic than it is sexy. And I thought that record was very cool. I am kind of waiting for like a proper listen on the new record. I don't want to spin it on Spotify until I have it. I've have heard their lead single, which is Honey Something, Honeybee, Honeydew.
Okay.
I like the single. The record's called Sex and Food. We had a really cool version where we did kind of it's not totally lenticular, but it's like this cool foil cover that throws off a lot of light. It's pressed on blue vinyl.
You know, that's
it's $21, so it like was slid right into my cart. And they're just a band that I think you can put it on. It will also have some like summer jams on it. Probably not as dancey as some of our Cuban music, but it's like chill barbecue music.
I'm curious because it's one of those bands. What you did while you were talking is a little burp came up, and you were trying to hide it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I'm more demure than you, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's just but the thing is it's still disgusting. So if you think somehow that you look better than me, you don't. You don't.
God damn it!
I just admit that human beings, we emit odors. We do this. And gases. No, Unknown Mortal Orchestra is one of those bands that the name really strikes my attention, and I want to know it, but I don't know anything. It's just one of those things. I'm trying to think of other bands that, it's like the name kind of sells you on it. Actually, Lustmord. For me, Lustmord is one of them, right? Because I knew that, and the first time I came across that name was a project that they did with Melvins on Opaque called Pigs of the Roman Empire, right? And I've been the Melvins fan for a long time, but then I hear them do this kind of like dark ambient stuff with Lustmord, and it's like, whoa, I got to find out some more. And it wound up being something that I really loved. The name was great, but
nice.
The other one is, I know that you're a fan of this. I don't know if I'd be a fan of it either, but Zola Jesus is another one. I keep seeing the name, and it seems interesting. And they record for Sacred Bones, don't they?
Yep. Long time Sacred Bones. I would say that's like been the bread and butter, like big earner of that label, and kind of built it around Zola Jesus. I know some of the older stuff. People really liked that record last year, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. But people were into that. Now there's like a recut version of that last record. I know it made a lot of people's 2017 lists. And
what kind of music is it?
I don't know. I mean, it's very like maybe borders on some avant-garde.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, but modern. I don't know. It's another like genre bender as far as I'm concerned. But
the beautiful thing
is worth a listen on name alone.
Yeah. No, the thing is look, the beautiful thing about this is that you don't need to know everything, and neither do I. As a matter of fact, the entire idea is that we're talking to people and having a conversation. And the way they can talk to us is through the keyboard with their comments. So, what I'm hoping for, and I mean, we see it, and it's rewarding when it happens because, I just love learning about music. It never gets old. And I'm kind of hoping that somebody who does know Zola Jesus will go, oh, you'll like this, or, you'll listen to this record or whatever. Or the same thing with Unknown Mortal Orchestra, something that as a vinyl collector, I want to be sold. Something that takes me just a little closer to making the purchase, which is to say that when I go to the record store or when I shop online, if I happen across it, it's like, oh, I remember, make that connection. So,
yeah, and there's nothing better than like hearing, I don't know, I can't read enough reviews or things like that never sell me the way like hearing it from a friend that you actually care about, or somebody whose music opinion that can connect it to a story or a sound that totally makes sense. I think that part is the most fun about sharing music. And frankly, that's like how things got started at Vinyl Me Please, is we like had friends that were asking us to buy them records or recommend them things, and it just kind of formalized that process that then went on to become a Record of the Month club. Because dude, sharing your music is like it identifies so much of yourself in those choices that I think it's really an important currency to try to share with each other.
Well, look, I appreciate the filter that is Vinyl Me Please. I've said it over and over again, and I'll keep singing those praises. Your side subscriptions, which is to say that your jazz and blues subscription and your rap hip hop subscription, as far as I'm concerned, are absolutely the crown jewels of your organization. Far better than the curated monthly thing, because that you're trying to kind of go all over the map type of thing, and you're going to hit and miss with some things, but you haven't missed a single one with those. And if I'm not wrong, people are able to subscribe uniquely to those subscriptions now, correct?
Starting this week on Thursday, we're going to announce May's records, and there will be 3 different records: the Essentials, which is our kind of mixed genre subscription, our classics, and our rap and hip hop. So we'll announce all 3 of those Thursday, and it'll be the first time that you can sign up for one of those subscriptions as your principal subscription. They've been available for a little while. You have to be a member, and you could add those on. And now, you know, if hip hop's really your passion and you don't want to risk getting an indie rock title or, you know, a jazz title, then you can subscribe now just to a rap and hip hop specific subscription. So I think it's going to be a big deal for people that like their true love is in a particular genre.
Oh, I just think that you're doing those genres well. And I actually approach those 2 genres completely separately from different perspectives. The jazz genre I approach, you know, as somebody who's collected jazz for a long time. So it's kind of like, okay, well, how are they going to curate this? And you're curating it well. You're not just going with the obvious type of things. You're scratching the surface. You're going beneath the surface and coming up with deeper stuff. Who the hell is it this week? Who's your Blue Note?
The Charlie, the Bossa Nova one?
Yeah.
That's in the store? Yeah. There's some cool stuff in there.
I need that. But yeah, you guys are really doing a good job there. And the hip-hop thing, the rap hip-hop thing is a different thing. Because when I was buying a lot of rap and hip-hop, it was happening during the CD era. So I had a lot of it on CD, and I didn't have some of it. And you guys are reissuing this stuff for the first time. Like, the Missy Elliott was a first. The Goody Mob, man, the Goody Mob can't come soon enough. That record is off the motherfucking chain, man.
Oh, we got Goody Mob, that De La Soul, Balloon State was amazing.
Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
You know, Erykah Badu, when you do something like this, right, when you put out a record that was available only exclusively on RSD, and you put it and you make it available, look, it says something. It means that you're not just trying to hustle product, you're actually putting the work into making sure that you find meaningful product that fits, you know, the themes. And look, it's been fun, is what I'm trying to say. And the reason I'm asking all these questions about it is because I legit want to be able to tell people, because I'm pretty sure that the Vinyl Junkies audience will likely enjoy the rap and hip hop and the jazz subscriptions, and are probably, I mean, I'm just guessing here, right? But I do know the audience. I think that they would probably be more likely to spend money on VMP and get through the experience that you guys provide through those subscriptions rather than your main one. Because, look, you know,
totally,
Arctic Monkeys isn't for everyone. It just isn't, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people love it, and we're stoked for that. But
sure.
Music taste is so personal. We know that. We don't have any misconceptions that like you can curate something that everyone will like. So more choice is it's just better for the vinyl community. You're more likely to get something you actually love, and that makes me feel like we did our job if you end up with a record you're stoked on.
Well, look, it makes it easy for me to sing the praises because I like the records. I'm going to go to the next one, and this is one
yeah,
that
what's your... Where are you going from Beyonce? You're going to take it from the Queen to something else?
I can pick, yeah. It was there last week, but I necessarily need it because I didn't pick it up last week. But you guys have a record, again, another exclusive, the King Brit record with Sister Gertrude Morgan. You know, again, there seems to be a little bit of a neo-gospel thing happening, which is to say that gospel, but not down the regular beaten path of, you know, Mahalia Jackson, to just use the same name over and over again. Like, what was it? The pastor JT, what the fuck was his name?
T.L. Barrett.
T.L. Barrett, that's right. You know, that's not your typical, gospel. And it winds up being exactly the same thing with King Brit. King Brit is not a gospel artist by any stretch of the imagination, and he's often made records where he's kind of trying to create this oral atmosphere that takes you to a certain place. The first record that I bought from him was a record called When the Funk Hits the Fan. Late 90s, early aughts. I don't remember exactly when. On CD. I'm still waiting for that to come out on CD. Sorry, on vinyl.
On vinyl, sure.
But what he basically did was he created this almost new blaxploitation vibe with the music and infused a lot of jazzier and acid jazzier elements while retaining a lot of like the old black culture which came before. So in other words, you know, the afros and the picks and all that stuff. De La Soul were doing exactly the same thing with Blowout Comb. So kind of like just going on that pride tip, you know, without being political about it at all. So he's done it, and to me, that's honestly, that King Brit record, When the Funk Hits the Fan, is one of my favorite records from that period, from the CD period. So, you know, vinyl people always get caught up in the situation where we're trying to rebuild our record collection so that we get all those amazing CDs we had. This would be one of them. The Sister Gertrude Morgan is just really obscure gospel that King Brit decides to just take and reimagine, and I've heard enough of his lens to know that I trust it implicitly, and I can't wait to get that record. It's got to be good. I haven't heard it because I don't want to spoil the experience.
Totally, and it's interesting. I mean, you know, the whole thing, the way that came about was a partner project with Ace Hotels, like fancy, you know, they've got a place in New York and
don't you guys do
LA.
Work with them too? You do work with them too, don't you?
We do. Yeah, there's you know, they stock Vinyl Me Please records in some of the rooms in the New York hotels, but this was through, they have a hotel in New Orleans. They wanted to do something that was genuine around Jazz Fest, and so we worked with Ace and the Preservation Hall Foundation and the New Orleans Musicians Clinic. So it was like part charitable, and we're selling these in the store. The King Brit, Sister Gertrude, for sure. But we're selling it as a bundle. There's 6 of Saturns, the Meters, which is a live 2 LP, and the King Brit together. Three of those records, 2 of which are double LPs for $49. So obviously would have blown your budget on our $100 shopping cart format.
No, but you're basically giving one record away.
Yeah, those 3 records for $50 is like unbelievable. I don't know. I'd be surprised if that bundle lasts through the end of the week, but and we were selling a bunch of them.
Just to get it right, the Meters is a double LP too, isn't it?
Meters is double LP. The King Brit's a double LP. I think 6 of Saturns is only a single LP, but
I don't know that.
It's a lot of music. So
I don't know that. What is it?
6 of Saturns was I need to look up a little bit the genesis, but it was very specific to the Ace and their property down in New Orleans, and so they had them play, and that's how it came to be one of those 3 packs. So it's a little more modern. Let's see. So I'm just looking on their website. That was like they were like the headline thing for this Preservation Hall charity
Okay.
as a live event. So that's how Six of Saturns gets entered. I wish I knew more about it musically. You know, meters is something I was really stoked about. The King Brit was new to me, and then the Six of Saturns is kind of new to me.
Well, I don't have any of them, and I mean, I can easily vouch for the meters. They don't do bad stuff. And, well, King Brit I just talked about. I guess it's your turn, brother.
Yeah, so I started with Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Let me go to something a little bit different. I mean, anybody who's watched a few of these shows, like for me, you know, the music that I pick that gets me most excited, you know, kind of harkens back to high energy stuff from being a hardcore kid growing up, or loving some of that like emo and post rock. But the second record I picked was Max Richter's From Sleep.
Yeah.
So he's that German, you know, composer that kind of like post minimalist, like new classical. And I thought it, like, to me, records are so situational. Instead of something high energy, I think of, you know, the nights that it's 9 o'clock and I settle back at my desk to do another hour of work or something like that.
Sure.
This is like the record I want to put on. Very chill. I like the whole story where I think the whole composition was 31 tracks that spanned 8 full hours.
Yes.
And he did it as a live performance on the BBC after composing it, and I think it still holds some sort of either Guinness or BBC record for the longest single music broadcast.
Oh no, it's not the longest single music broadcast, but maybe on the BBC.
Yeah, maybe on the BBC specifically was the thing. So I'd heard about it and I thought it was just kind of like a living art project.
Okay.
But he went from the digital format. He took enough tracks to like whittle that down to this 2 LP that he calls From Sleep. That is all this beautiful, lovely, like minimal classical music. He worked with an American neuroscientist, and they actually like tried to map, like, would this affect people's dreams? Would they get better sleep? I don't know what the science ended up proving. I don't know that, he described it as like creating a landscape for dreams. I don't know if they were able to prove that through neuroscience, but I like the idea of like just having that kind of end of night, like really get you settled in and mellow music that and then you can go to sleep.
No, I mean, that's pretty much exactly the reason I buy ambient music, and I can tell you for a fact that studies have been done on making music that helps you relax. The other godfather of this, different approach. Richter has a lot more of a classical approach. The record's actually on Deutsche Grammophon. You have no idea how badly I wanted that. I want the record, but it would have blown my budget. But I want that record badly. Like, dude, I have, I don't know, 400 Deutsche Grammophon records.
Really?
I have a fucking massive collection of Deutsche Grammophon.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I know what they do. They don't make bad records. They don't produce bad records. Not the physical product. I know it's the standard. It's the standard. And it's going to be good. Actually, you were mentioning, the work that that Richter did with the neuroscientist a couple of years ago during the early years of the iPhone. Okay. I don't know if you remember this, but Brian Eno released. I can't remember the name of the app, but he released an iPhone app. It was only available on iPhone that had this ambient music, and it was made specifically to help you go to sleep. And you can turn it on for half an hour or whatever, and there were different kind of like feelings, but again, the same idea as this Max Richter record. And I'm telling you, as a lot of vinyl people will talk about, they'll get purist about it. This music that I wish I could remember the name of the app, but this music that Brian Eno made for this iPhone app, or iTunes. Back then there wasn't phone, it was Tunes, iTunes.
Sure.
It's not going to be analog. If they press this to record, it's not going to be analog. You know what? Who cares? It's really good, and it'll help you chill out, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big like listen to music when I go to sleep, and I don't know. I know you're a metal guy and have some metal friends. Like it blows my mind. I have some friends that will put on pretty aggressive like metal and still just fall asleep to that. I'm either dead quiet or I'd want something. I'm really excited to hear this Sleep record just to see if that's something. Obviously, in the vinyl format, it's kind of weird. You're not going to put it on unless you're really trying to work on like just a side A nap, maybe. But
It's the kind of thing you
I
put on
like
at
the
the end
whole
of the
idea
night.
of it. Exactly.
Honestly, you come back from a long night's work. You smoke a jazz cigarette and you make yourself a drink and you just sit down and you know that you're going to go to bed in 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, right? But that whole wind down period, if you don't wind down at the end of the night, man, you're not going to sleep properly. Your brain needs rest. This music helps you get there.
I totally agree, and I am excited to get you a copy of this.
Ooh, nice. I was hoping you were going to say that because I really do want it. I didn't pick it, though, so it's kind of cheating.
It is kind of cheating.
My turn, right?
Yeah, your turn.
Why don't we go with a really easy one? Nina Simone. You guys have the Colpix singles that she recorded, I believe, during the early 60s. It's all mono, and I've yet to hear a bad Nina Simone record. I don't think it exists. Badly recorded or badly produced Nina Simone records exist because Nina recorded so much, so many concerts. She just never stopped working. And if you saw the movie What Happened, Miss Simone, you'll see that her husband basically drove her like a slave. The biggest period where she was busy was the 60s. So he was basically, her husband was pimping her out. Difference is, instead of selling sex, she was basically a slave to her piano. And like really, the stories are that if she didn't want to do something or whatever, she'd get the beats for it, you know? So I find her one of the most interesting characters in music. And I own, 15 Nina Simone records? I don't have the Colpix. It doesn't matter. They might have songs that... Nina Simone doesn't make bad music. And she's an enigma because she was one of the strongest voices in black culture, and she was the head, right? She was at the vanguard, right at the very vanguard of black empowerment during the civil rights movement, and she was being beaten within an inch of her life from her husband and being basically fucking just slaved out, concert after concert after concert after concert.
Oh, you know, awful. Yeah.
But the material, I mean, look, you can put together 50, 100 Nina Simone records very, very easily because she released that many. Her catalog is very dense. The good news is that for anybody who's looking to buy Nina, you're not going to go wrong. It's all good. It is. It's all good. If you want earlier stuff, she's not militant yet. So the Colpix stuff is the early 60s stuff. It's mono. She's got her voice. It's always her voice, but she hasn't really gone the full kind of Black Panther militant thing. The civil rights, all the shit that led to the civil rights was there, but the civil rights hadn't quite yet happened yet. Martin Luther King, I believe, wasn't shot yet. I don't remember exactly the entire period, but it's a strong period of music, and I want it. It's probably good. Do you know who pressed it?
I don't know who pressed it. I know this has been a Vinyl Junkies request for a long time, but we're working on... I know you're always going to ask, and I should come better prepared with those answers. But what I'm trying to do is on a greater scale, basically have, like you look at any like mass-produced food products and they've got like that, kind of nutrition facts.
Yeah.
We're going to like try to add a nutrition facts to each of the records in the store, where it was pressed, all the, vinyl weight details, original label, music source, like, so is it coming from analog tape? So we're going to try to do like a nicely formatted like musical facts for everything that's in our store, because I know that, you know, people care about those details, and it makes a big difference as to whether or not it's a pressing you want.
They do. And the thing is that also I think it's look, it's professional. Okay, it's professional, and a lot of the times you see even people who don't necessarily know what those terms mean, they read those terms and it educates them. Okay. Just because it's on vinyl, it doesn't mean it sounds good. And some companies, I mean, we're seeing it a lot less now because there's a lot more pressing plants. Things have gotten better, but you know, you don't want to buy a record and be disappointed by it. And I've bought records, and sometimes it's not just the price. You know, it's just I've bought cheap records. You know, $12 record, and just it sounds like utter shit. Where it's like, okay, well, I paid $12 for it, but I know that I'm never going to listen to it again because the CD will sound better. So.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to get caught up in that too much. So I'm happy to see that you guys are actually kind of going the extra mile, and especially just knowing the labels. To me, knowing the labels is a pretty important one.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, we want to provide, you know, more of that. We understand that that's just an important thing. And, you know, I think the vinyl junkies community are like the types of people that hold that highest standard of, like, I want to know everything about this pressing before you get my hard-earned money.
Well, look, I can use an example of your own pick, right? You kept you spoke about Max Richter, and it was interesting. I mean, you filled in a lot of details that I didn't have, but the one detail that I caught immediately was Deutsche Grammophon, which you didn't mention at all. Now, if you talk to a record nerd, you tell them Deutsche Grammophon, and they know what they're getting. They do. It's just, it's a standard. Okay, those records are not going to be bad. They're just not. So that's kind of, I guess, the most pertinent example in this case. Whose turn is it, bro?
It's me. You just did Nina. So I'm going to go back. This is a wild card pick for me. I try to pick, you know, one thing every month that I haven't listened to and don't have a lot of context for. Okay. I've got some people in the company that I totally trust them when they come to me with, you know, oh, dude, you're going to love this. You need this. And this record is a band called The Creation, and the record was called We Are Paintermen. And the minute I started, you know, to your point about caring about the label, the minute I found out that this is a Numero pressing, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. They're just so great at uncovering these interesting stories, and I've done some of the reading on it, and now I'm like super excited to have this in my hand, because apparently they were contemporaries of The Who, and the guitarist Eddie Phillips from The Creation was like, Pete Townsend asked him to join The Who, and he was like, no, I'm going to go off and do this other project. And they put out an EP, and I think the highest it ever climbed was like 49th on the UK charts. Yep. But for whatever reason, it took off in Germany. So a German label ultimately ended up putting together a few EPs and singles into this LP called We Are the Paintermen. It did really well in Germany and basically nowhere else, and the band broke up.
What year was it originally released?
67.
Beauty.
And so you've got that total 60s feel, introduction of a lot of like reverb on some of the guitar stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't listened to it, but I love the story, and I think Numero always does a really nice treatment, booklet. So this is my wild card, and it's $18, and I'm excited for it to show up and give it a first spin.
Numero does it right. For me, that's really the sell. I mean, I do know it's The Creation, right? Because there's a band called Blues Creation also. Yeah, right. I'm familiar with them. They're I spoke about it just last Sunday with Grant, but on a different topic, Africa. I love psych music from everywhere. Psychedelic, funky music. I'll listen to it from everywhere because everybody kind of infuses their culture into it. So there's this collection of records that I referenced just last Sunday called Love, Peace, and Poetry. It's a German label. It's on a German label called QDK Media, and they released 10 volumes of international psych music. Yes, they have the American stuff.
10 volumes?
10 volumes. 10 volumes.
Holy
so it's,
shit.
So it's a lot like, for example, what Nuggets and Pebbles did with Garage, but this is for psychedelic music. And I first came across this, you know, on the net. I just downloaded a ton of it, but I went to collecting all of it, and I now have 8 of 10 of those. One of those is British Psych, and the creation is on that British Psych record. So if you're looking for something like where you want to hear what every country had to offer, Mexico, Peru, Brazil, they're all Asian, Japan, right? There's 10 volumes of this stuff. The creation is one of them. There's another one that's pretty similar that came out, I believe, in 68, though, a band called July. And they're another one of those crazy psychedelic bands that flew completely under the radar, but collectors, like, it's highly sought after. You know, it's like it fetches hundreds of dollars, and eventually it came out on reissue, and I paid entirely too much for it. But yes, I like UK Psych. Good pick, man. That's a deep one.
And I also, I don't know why, it's like, it's kind of a newer record nerd thing for me. I love when these things aren't on Spotify. Like, I'm sure you could find YouTube stuff and whatever, but it makes that needle drop more compelling when you don't even have an option of finding it in most like mainstream streaming services. And I think that's kind of cool. Then you can pull out a jewel and share it with your friends, and you know they haven't heard it before.
See, my deal is that I want the streams. I want to be able to listen to the music. I want that option all the time, and I think it's just good business to be able to give people a test drive. But I don't listen to them. I wait for the needle drop. So for me, just the exercise and restraint, the longer I gotta wait for it, the more it's gonna feel good when I drop that needle. You know what I'm saying? So like everybody, you know, listens to the advanced song from whatever album. I can't think of anything right now, but I usually don't give any of that a listen, simply because you want that needle drop to be something. Just like when we used to buy records and we were kids and it wasn't readily available. You know, you had to wait. So they'd release maybe the single, but you had to go to the store. I keep talking about this because it matters. The commitment that you're making to the music. Okay, so maybe, you know, people that go to record stores, they got to travel to go there. They're making a commitment. If they're buying the music, they're not just streaming it. They're shelling money out to buy it and have it delivered. And believe me, when that code comes through email, they're waiting for that record and they're tracking it all the way until the door comes. That's an important experience. That's not an aside. That's what vinyl is. Why did I just start saying all of this? Other than...
So the experience in streaming versus not, and like, it's not convenient, but that anticipation, both builds like hype inside of you, and I think makes it more memorable when you finally do first get to listen to it.
That's absolutely right. It's just the anticipation does that. And I think what it is that I was trying to allude to is just that what you're doing is when you're buying Numero, is you're buying a certain curation. They do something a certain way. Once you have enough of their records, you notice that they do packaging a certain way, and it's all, they understand, especially when it comes to the box sets, man, they understand the unboxing experience. So they add these little touches. I have several boxes from them. They add these little touches, and all of them are different. Like, there's one box that I have, a label called Body, and it's like 5 LP. And the reason, or 5 or 6 LPs, and the reason I bought it was specifically because it was Numero. So just like you mentioned for the creation, right? It's Numero, I bought it on that. But the records are all kind of put into this kind of like thick envelope with a string in the front. You know, kind of like those envelopes that you would pass from office to office, the yellow envelopes that you'd have to... So it's kind of like that's the way it's packaged. And every package that... Numero does has that little something. Like there's a box set that they put out from this African dude called Bobo Yeye, and it comes with just the most stunning, we're talking stunning art picture book of photos that were shot during the time that this record came out. But it's just it's beautiful. You know, one thing that they were doing for a little while also, I go on, dude, I ramble. Another thing they were doing is they used to add playing cards. They used to add like baseball cards into their collection.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So you could collect like a full deck of them. Yeah, that's very cool. Nice. So what's your fourth record? You got...
you know what? I'll go one just to go over it, but I picked because I want it. Everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? The Cranberries' first record, because the song Linger and that entire record, those first two Cranberries records, but the song Linger especially is just one of the most enjoyably painful musical experiences that I can think of. You know, and I'm trying to think of another one just to kind of, you know, drive home the point that I don't use superlatives too much. But again, when I listened to those records were salve for some pretty raw pain during times where I didn't want to be alive, you know. So I feel like listening to that stuff helps me recapture something, but you get to own it a bit, you know. So it's like the turmoil of the past isn't there, but you get to still feel the thing, and rather than it being painful, it winds up being a pretty cathartic experience. And that's exactly what happened when the VMP box came last. You sent Everybody Else Is Doing It, Why Can't We? The second Cranberries record.
Yeah.
And the minute I put it on, I started immediately just going back. You know, the music carries you back, and just had a good cry over it. And I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, man. There's this part of me that needs to recapture the music, needs to recapture the soundtrack of the most painful years of my life. Just because I have to.
Isn't that so weird that as humans, like, if you really, like, hearing you say that, it sounds, I don't mean this, like, in the typical definition, but, like, it sounds perverted, right? Like, why would you want to dig up that thing that, like, reminds you of those times of being in pain? But I think that's such a human thing. It's, like, part of our experience, and we, you know, you don't want to go back there and necessarily be in that pain, but the music and the things that connect with you around those times become such a permanent part of who you are that it's just immediately powerful. And I think that's an interesting concept of why we choose to look back and re-indulge in kind of painful times. But I think it's because it's so formative to who we become.
I think it's I don't know if it was with you where I compared that to an acid flashback.
I don't know if it was.
Okay, well, maybe it was Kim, but anyway, I'll use the analogy because it kind of is the same. For me, it's almost like an acid flashback, and I'll tell you how. Okay, right? The idea of an acid flashback is that if you've done enough acid in your life, it stores up into your fatty cells, right? And if that fat ever burns, like once you burn that fat, basically those chemicals are released, and you wind up having, you know, the same kind of experiences as you did when you dropped acid. And musically, it's exactly the same thing. There are some records where, you know, we think about our just whatever, our rawest, our saddest, our angriest, just really strong emotions or strong periods of our life where our emotions carried us more than anything else. And that's never a good thing. And the music that kind of ground us, right? And yeah, if I listened to the Cranberries, it would hurt. But it's a different thing. It's a different thing. It's just because you're looking at it from a different lens, and the time and the place isn't there anymore. So it brings back the acid flashback. That's where I'm talking about the flashback thing. It's almost like an emotional flashback, okay, where those feelings happen. So it's like I said, you know, I talk about listening to that second Cranberries record and just having a good cry over it. It wasn't bad. It was good. It was real good. It was bad then, but it was good now. So that's why I would want the first Cranberries record. I thought it would take less time to tell that.
You know, you get emotional, and I think there's some philosophical in there too, and those are the things that, I don't know, kind of make music more interesting.
Dude.
It's weird. It's like we could have written this as like a transition, but it brings me to my fourth pick, which is the new record from Hop Along, which is called Bark Your Head Off, Dog.
Okay.
And it's a new record to me. I have been listening to it digitally, so I'm pretty familiar with it at this point. But one of the things, and it's interesting how you talk about the Cranberries because musically it was what you were listening to.
Well, one of the
when
albums.
you were one of the albums when you're going through some heavy shit. This record's brand new, so clearly I don't have the long-term historical context, but I think the woman who's the like front person of the band, songwriter, like she does this like awesome job. I think of it as like good painters leave a lot for the viewer to like insert themselves into the art. And I feel like she does too. And she's got a song. I don't know if it was one of the lead singles, but there's a song off the new record called How Simple. And there's a verse where it says something about like, don't worry, we'll both find out, just not together. And it threw me like that could have been like how I would have written about my divorce. Like my ex-wife and I like came to this place where we knew it wasn't working. And we both found out. We just found out at different times, and the realization of how separate we were. And I was like, whoa, this like, I just think it's really cool when you can connect with an individual lyric or something and like it works in a universal way. I'm sure she meant it for some totally different context, but it like spoke to me like really powerfully. And I was like, oh my God, I got to listen to this record over and over and
I get it.
hear the other lyrics and pull out like what is her frame of reference? Is she singing about heartbreak or not? And I kind of love the ambiguity as a listener because it allows me to like map my own experience, my own feelings to this record. And I think Hop Along is awesome as a band. They're on Saddle Creek. I think this is their third record. And if anybody is looking for likes female fronted, and it's fairly fast paced, it's not like a downer record. I put it in a downer context.
Okay.
But like she's actually got like a really energetic voice. So yeah, I don't want to sway people like it's a record about heartbreak and divorce. It's just I thought it was so interesting how that lyric like resonated with me, even though that probably wasn't the context of the record. It wasn't
the context. Okay, so then I'm not going to go into my whole thing because I was going to name drop Marillion and I was going to name drop Elvis Costello and Burt Bacharach, but I'll save the sad bastard stories. I'll save my divorce stories for another time.
We could have a whole sad songs episode. That would be kind of fantastic.
Yeah, some people will relate to it. You know, relationships, man, making that shit work ain't easy.
No,
you know,
it is not.
You got to deal with each other's crazy. God bless my wife. Should you be going next? No, that's you, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go.
That's my 4. I'm rounded out. I think my total is like $95.
What I'm gonna do is I will name another one. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go. I have 2 others here. I have Sly and the Family Stone. You guys have There's a Riot Going On, and I guess I should just say that everybody should own that record. If you have to have a Funk 101, I'm not going to go in. I guess I'll save that for another time. I got Sly Stories Forever. Just buy There's a Riot Going On. If you don't know the record, just buy the fucking record. It's necessary. It's necessary. It's Funk 101. So I was happy to see that. But the one that I'm going to talk about is probably going to talk about it again with Kim, is Paul de Jong's latest record, You Fucking Sucker. Paul de Jong is one half of the Books, and I've spoken about the Books and how I don't know, man, the frequency that it just, my head's I'm bipolar, so my brain doesn't work properly sometimes. And during just there's something about the Books and their music and the pastiche that they use, the way that they cut and paste a lot of stuff, and they use music, they use what's the word, field recordings and lyrics that they just record from other places, but they just reconfigure everything and they create a narrative, but a narrative that is not pointed where they tell you exactly where the story is going. That's not what they do. Okay, what it is that they do is they just kind of like put it together in a way that does make sense, but there's so much loose, there's so much space between every element that's happening that your mind puts the rest together. There is something about their music and the 2 members, Zamuto and Paul de Jong, whose record I'm talking about right now, that it just helps the pieces back together. So if everything's just scattered, somehow it brings it together, and I don't know how. And this Paul de Jong record is exactly that. And, maybe I'm going to, I don't know, maybe I'm going to contradict myself, but it's a really hard record to listen to. And I don't know why yet. I know I got to listen to it again. But there was something really disturbing about it. Have you listened to it?
I have not. I've not listened to one note. I always think fondly of the books when you and I are talking, because I feel like that's one of the first records that we actually connected over, where it's like, it's weird and it's challenging, but it really leaves an impression. I have not listened to the new record at all yet.
I'm actually showing the record right now, so the packaging is really interesting too, because it's basically just a big piece of like wrapping paper with all these crazy images on it, and the notes are on the back of the wrapping paper, but it's really quite cool. And I generally don't like fussy packaging, but in this particular case I do, because it's not fussy where it's got to be a pain in the ass each time. It's kind of like almost like origami. It's nice. So you had to kind of open it carefully as not to tear it, and then take the record out from inside. You put it on, and it's just a fairly disturbing piece of music. And I wish I could say more than that, but look, it's out on temporary residence. It's cheap. It's under $20. And for those who enjoy music as art, okay, so not music to shake your ass or, music to, bang your head, but just music as art, which is to say that, it's, instead of using paints, you're using sounds. That's what Paul de Jong is. And he does it in a way that's unique. There's no doubt about the fact that it's unique. If you like the books, you're going to like the Paul de Jong record. If you like the books, think about the most disturbing parts of that catalog, and it's that feeling is definitely what I got when I heard You Fucking Sucker. And for me, the most disturbing part of the books is there's one part where they're recording this little girl talking to her father in an airport, and he's going, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," and he's pretending like he doesn't know her. And it's just, there's something about, the part I'm talking about, right?
I do. It's so messed up.
It makes me feel so abandoned. It makes me feel like so fucking abandoned, like this child's abandoned in an airport. And they're just words, and it's almost like they go from, from that to some stewardess, or I'm sorry, I don't know what they're called now, but on a Japanese airline, talking about
flight attendant.
Yeah. Yes, exactly, right. I don't mean to be derogatory. I'm just stupid, but the words elicit something, and this Paul de Jong record elicited something fairly strong in me. And if you like art, just as just oral art, it's worth at least giving a try. If you want an art piece, then like I told you, the record's really let me unfold this for people just to kind of really give them an idea of what I'm talking about here. It's this big old thing, man, and I might be doing this upside down. Actually, is there really an upside down? Because it's just this big thing, and the paper is kind of like a quality. It's not quite as... It's almost like wrapping paper. It's like the kind of paper that you would wrap a present with. So, anyway, it's a very cool thing, and that's my last choice. Did I take too long?
No, man. I think we had interesting carts, both of us. And I've been curious about the Paul de Jong thing, but I haven't had any time to play it, and I just have been... I don't know. You got to be in that specific headspace for books type music, but I love that was a pick for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a ton of good stuff. Like, it was just hard to get through the whole thing. I mean, I'm really curious about that new King Tough record. There's a new King Gizzard in the store. There's
always a new King Gizzard, right?
Of course. There's that Charlie Russo like bossa nova thing that, again, that's an area that I just way undereducated, so I'm like excited to check that out. But there's lots of cool stuff to peek in this month's store. So
Brother, we went over an hour, man. That's fucking cool. It's always like that.
Oh,
It's so much fun, man. So look, guys, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means that the VMP shop has been open for 5 hours now. If you guys want to get the exclusive stuff, we've talked about a bunch of it. Get it before it gets gone. Like if you waited for Orchestra Octagon, you made a mistake, because that's going to be, I'm sure, one of my top 5 records of the year. It has to be. I can't imagine anything, affecting me that much. Yeah, get them while you can. Thanks for doing this, bro.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. This is always a pleasure.
All right, guys. By the way, hey, next Thursday, keep it open. Me and Kim are doing an RSD show. You've probably been looking at some records, me flipping around. These are Record Store Day stuff. We'll talk about it.
That's like this Thursday, right? Couple days.
Yeah, dude.
Not a week from now, just coming up.
No, dude. We're doing a Record Store Day show with Record Store Day releases 2 days before people can buy them. I have 20.
Dang.
I have 20 Record Store Day records, maybe just a little more, with more coming supposedly tomorrow. So yeah, should be fun, man.
You're going to give me some recommendations so I know if I should go stand in line or not?
Thursday, I'll definitely talk to you about the ones that I liked. There's no doubt there. And I will absolutely, me and Kim will definitely talk about the statement that Numero Group made about not participating in Record Store Day, because it's important to talk about all of it, right?
Sure.
All right, guys.
Absolutely.
See you Thursday,
everybody.
Right?